Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Senator Smith to be followed by Senatrice Galvez and then Senator Duncan. Senator Smith, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Brazo, you noted in your submission that the decision was solely political, not based on facts, concerned with the government failed to take your industry's concerns into account. Why do you believe it's a political decision?
Thank you for the question.
And which parts of the country will be impacted by this decision?
Right. Yeah. So, you know, the government have said that they want to do an 18-month pilot project. This was done over 3 years from 2014 to 2017. This current government was the one that sunset that in 2017 with Minister Garneau. And, you know, it was sunset after compiling data, compiling information, getting feedback. So, you know, we are just left to wonder how another pilot project, you know, with similar parameters is going to give you different results. And because all the data is there, all the facts are there, but we were not presented with any new data, any new facts to support the need for this pilot project. So that's why we feel that this is an ill-advised policy, because it is not based on evidence and fact. There is no market intervention that's required because nothing has changed since 2017. And in fact, what I will say, Ms. Senator, is that the investments that the railways have made in new grain hopper cars built in Hamilton, Ontario, have allowed them to carry records amounts of grain in the last year alone. And so we are meeting demand, and we will continue to meet demand. So that's why we are left wondering as to why this is required now, when it clearly wasn't, it was sunset for the right reasons in 2017.
Could you talk a little bit about the proposed change and how to decrease the efficiency of Canada's rail supply chain? What impacts will it have on the broader supply chains in Canada, especially in wake of the massive inflationary crisis that we've been living with?
We've said that you know, extending the distance will increase transit times by 1 to 2 days. So you know, and this, by the way, the same government, you know, confirmed last week in the National Post article that they are limiting this to Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba because they don't want to cause congestion in British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec. So, to me, it's you know, you're saying two things. You know, you're saying you're putting this measure in place to improve capacity and fluidity, but then you're saying you're only doing it in the prairies because you don't want to upset the apple cart in British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec. And we know that this will increase transit time, it will increase costs, and it will drive business south of the border as well.
So I guess since this has come out, what has your association been doing in terms of dealing directly with the government to try to make sure that they're really listening to you? Because you said that there wasn't any real good communication in the initial stages.
We've taken the dust off the Emerson report, and we've brought the facts back to the table. The CD Howe did a similar study as well prior to the Emerson report that was tabled. Again, pointing to the fact that extended regular interswitching will hurt shippers, will increase costs. So we're having those conversations with all members of Parliament, with all senators, to make sure that the facts and the evidence are brought to the forefront. Because, again, we do not believe that this decision was based on fact and evidence.
What's your feeling right now? Are you having an audience? Is the audience listening to you?
Yeah, we are, and I think that you know, it's one thing having an audience listen to you; it's another thing having an audience take action. And we know that the union groups have expressed their concerns. As I mentioned, we had a CEO of a major AGT grain express concern that this will have a negative impact on all shippers. So, you know, we're hoping that people are listening, but more importantly, we're hoping that people take the right actions.
One more quick one.
Oui, s'il vous plaît.
I guess last thought is this whole issue of competition and people complaining there's only two major carriers in the country and that you guys have a duopoly. How do you sort of address that particular issue?
Well, you know, I think we should be proud of the fact, first of all, that we have two highly competitive Class 1s in Canada. And in fact, as I mentioned to you, CPCS did an independent study on rates, and Canada has the lowest freight rates in the world, comparable to market-based economies. We also have the best safety record in North America. All of these things don't happen by chance. They happen because we have two healthy Class 1s who reinvest back in our network, and they provide great service to shippers across the country. And you know, for example, grain elevators, they have access to both CPKC and the CN lines. Okay, so this is not about you don't have a choice. You do have a choice. You have long-haul interswitching up to 1,200 kilometers, which exists. So there are options that exist today for shippers, and again, I think we can take great comfort in knowing that we have two Class 1s who deliver and continue to deliver for shippers across the country.